I'm here to help women reset and rewild, to embrace and prioritize the pauses in order to reclaim their peace and power. I'm Dr. Michelle Peris, director of the Poppy Clinic and founder and CEO of the Wild Collective. As a disruptor, naturopathic doctor, wife, and mama, I've created a global movement and sacred space for women to rise together. Here, you'll break through limitations, romanticize your life, and unlock the magic of your divine feminine power. My life's work is rooted in community, lifting women into their most powerful, authentic selves, while empowering clinicians to elevate their practices with a transformational, community-driven model. I lead a thriving, passion-fueled business and naturopathic practice brimming with abundance, where I can guide women to invigorate their lives through sisterhood and elevate healthcare with a cutting-edge transformational approach. I've witnessed firsthand in my practice how this model sparks consistent health transformation, creates flourishing communities, and brings profitable success. You can have it all, a life filled with abundance, contagious joy, and untethered potential. So pull up a seat. It's time to pour into yourself and tap into your intuition and design a life that's wild, free, and uniquely yours. And I'm going to show you how. This is Wild Medicine. All right, welcome back to another episode of Wild Medicine. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Peris, and I'm super excited for today's episode. We skipped a week, you may have noticed. I'm doing my best, but I'm not going to put out uninspired content. So instead of forcing it, we just took a pause. If you noticed, we're not going anywhere. We just didn't force, which is a huge part of the vibe, which is what I'm going to get into today. So we're going to be talking about burnout and how you're not broken. You're probably just burnt out, and what signs to look out for to be aware that this might be happening, because your body might be begging for you to listen. I mean, this is what brought about Wild Collective, the work that I do in Shed. My own burnout experience motivates a lot of my decision making. It motivates a lot of the information that I curate for my patients because just of the disconnect. And so that's what I'm trying to really articulate over this next coming series of episodes that we have planned for you, which I'm super excited about. The thing is that I think a good part of this population is burnt out, and you might be hiding in plain sight. And it might be time to respectfully call you out lovingly. We can't fix something we are unaware of. And so that's what this is. It's a gentle nudge, and it's a gentle homecoming, because you might need to hear some of this information. And I hope it speaks directly to you. The thing is, if you've been silently wondering what is wrong with you, I want you to know that you are not broken. It's likely that you're burnt out and your body has been whispering for a while, and you might have to be annoyingly nudged by the screams. I see you in that, because that's how my body used to speak to me, because I just wouldn't give the whispers any attention. I'm really good at pushing through some incredible discomfort in order to succeed. And at some point that stopped being not only a badge of honor, but a really bad strategy to succeeding in life, because I literally felt like a shell of myself. And there are peaks, I think people on the outside looking in would have said is the pinnacle of success, and it felt anything but on the inside. And there were a lot of my most intimate relationships unraveling or were really strained, and I myself just felt so dysregulated. Every part of what I've built in my businesses, in how I impact healthcare, has been very strategic and intentional through my own learning. I'm probably best as a teacher through experience. It's not what I want it always to be, but that seems to be what really inspires me to want to make a difference. Once I've overcome something, I want to make sure that everybody who might be struggling and looking for viable solutions knows what's out there for them. So I've burnt out more times than I care to admit. And that is the truth. And I'm not proud. I don't wear it as a badge of honor at all. Actually, when I say certain things out loud now, I'm like, I really can't believe the person I am today would have a really tough time running myself into the same situation. That's how far I've come, how much I have dissociated from that kind of way of operating. But I have been there and I do not judge. I just have incredible compassion because I think we are wired a certain way as high achieving, successful women who were trying to be seen as equal in this space, trying to be the same, trying to do it all, and trying to do it without needing help. And it ended up making most of us quite resentful, unwell, and settling for crumbs. And so I just want to let you know that you're not alone and that this journey is worthwhile and it can take some time. So be gentle with yourself on the way towards healing. It's a lot to overcome patterns that are so ingrained with how society functions, but how you've been functioning largely for a really long time. So if you're one of these high achieving, high functioning, burnt out women who might be hiding in plain sight, here are some descriptions to see if you can recognize yourself in this. You're productive, but disconnected. You get everything done, but largely, you know, when you drive somewhere and you're like, how did I even get here? That's the disconnected part. Things get done. Everything on the list is getting done and you keep adding to that insane list, but it's being done in a very disconnected fashion. I used to say it's almost like you're so dysregulated. It's like you're outside of your body. It's like you're not even attuned to what's actually going on, because if you were, you'd be really uncomfortable, I imagine. It would feel really unsafe. And so we just keep doing, but it's almost like an outer body experience. It's just like you're pushing, and there's really no connection to what's going on the inside. You're smiling, but it's hollow. There's an emptiness behind it. You're doing it because society tells you should. I actually go and watch a lot of my old recordings on Instagram, and I'm like, that's what we're talking about. It's like the smile is there, the presentation is pleasant, but the human behind it is not in any way connected to that. I remember my friends used to say to me, there's something that is disconnected about your content. Like, we know you, and you're not like that on social. And I think it is this burnt out exhaustion. Just do the things that are appeasing. Don't upset, don't ruffle any feathers, just produce. And there's like this emptiness. You show up for everybody else, but no one sees you or is caring or checking in on you because you're the one. Everyone feels like you've got it all together. We don't need to check her. She's good, right? Because she appears to always have it all together. The common masks that you wear: the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the overachiever, and the caregiver. The people pleaser makes sure that everyone else is pleased and their needs are met before her own. The perfectionist, it's the need to have everything be absolutely a certain way for it to be done. The overachiever is always looking for the next gold star. And the caregiver hides behind, her identity is in the caregiving, not the actual woman. For a lot of us, this idea of mean girl culture is the reason why we don't talk about this more. If female relationships are in any way compromised for yourself, then you are not going to be very generous with where you're struggling, because it simply doesn't feel safe. And what I've learned through all of this, if you know anything about the work that I do, everything is done in communion. Safe communion, safe community, safe sisterhood. But everything is done communally because I know the power of being able to say things without risk of being judged or criticized. Doesn't mean that people don't have thoughts, right? But it does feel it's very important to create a safe environment for people to not have to, for them to be able to take the mask off. And that takes a great level of vulnerability, authenticity, genuineness, healthy boundaries, accountability, radical responsibility for everyone who participates. And so because those things seem to be quite foreign in modern day society, we tend to hold things in. Because heaven forbid someone says something and we find out about it. So we keep quiet about our pain. Because if anything's gotten back to you and it's deeply hurt your feelings, it makes it difficult to share the next time. And I can definitely relate to that. And every once in a while, like my sensors flare and like old patterns creep in about being worried about sharing certain things. And it's not a nice feeling. And because that's such a rare event for me these days, because of the intentional communities I've curated, it can really be jolting. And I imagine that it can be very hard for a lot of people where that is their everyday existence. Like sharing is a triggering event because you're not sure how that's going to land for the other person, or you're worrying about how it's coming out because you might need to filter yourself because someone might say something that is not helpful or productive or feels like judgment or harsh. And that can be really painful and really difficult to navigate. And so for so many of us, it gets stored in our body and we hold it, and it can cause a lot more harm than good. There is a cost to pretending we are fine. I smiled, but there's an absolute cost. It's not funny. Shame being one of them. Guilt, very low vibration frequencies that can only attract more stressors and concerns. Misdiagnosis of what's going on. So not fully giving a voice to what is actually going on with you. And going deeper into your burnout. So just perpetuating and worsening a situation that was already there. I see this a lot in wild circles where there's apologizing for feeling the way we feel or over-explaining. And this is ingrained in our society. And so then we have to be very cautious about how our emotions are expressed or what we say, because the world has largely been so unsafe that it's really harmed our capacity to be comfortable with what is coming up for us. And my invitation and my hope for anyone I work with is that we become more comfortable with what is. Just legitimizing what is doesn't mean you're making it right or okay, or you want to stay that way forever. It just legitimizes its existence. And I don't think we understand how important that is from a healing perspective, because we truly can't fix what we are unaware of. And so giving things a voice is so incredibly powerful because you can do something with that information. From that point on, you have agency. And when we keep things in, we worsen, we let shame and guilt live. We are at risk of misdiagnosis and not understanding that there's actually something going on. And we drive ourselves deeper into burnout, more resentment, and more crumbs. It's catastrophic for us, actually. So 5 signs your body is begging for you to listen. What I really do try and encourage women in my world, whether you join me in Wild Collective or Shed, my metabolic reset program, or any of the talks that I deliver, is how our body is gently nudging us to this deeper wisdom, to this way that our body is always in direct communication with us and giving us direct biofeedback to how we are in our environment. And believe me, your body is so innately intelligent and wise that it is always trying to increase awareness and speak to us to elicit a sign that something is going on. This episode is brought to you by the Wild Collective. If you are ready for something innovative, something truly transformational, you are wanting to build a beautiful life and thriving health and vibrant energy, and you're not sure how to build that in, you might want to consider something as incredible as the Wild Collective. The Wild Collective is our women's health initiative. It is a closed community of like-minded individuals. It is where sisterhood meets self-care. There's 10 modules of fundamental women's health, all the evidence-based information that you need, the testing, the handouts, the assessment, how to advocate for yourself in the wellness space. Also, what natural and integrative approaches you can consider for any age and stage in life. And being that it is part of a community, you also get this beautiful experience of meaningful connection, conversations that matter, and truly up-leveling your life. So if you are ready to take on something totally transformative and fun, then please go check us out at the Wild Collective. So that's the-wild-collective.com. Get on the wait list, and we will see you in one of our Wild Circles very soon. So if you're waking up tired even after a full night of sleep, right? We start looking at all of these things. Is it, our blood sugar balance? Is it our adrenals? Is it blue light? Is it gosh, there's so many things that we can get hyper focused on, and they're all legitimate, and we need to look at those things. But largely, it's not because you're lazy or something isn't working. It is your nervous system crying out for regulation. What does that mean? Most of us are living in fight or flight all the time. Okay. So we are in this chronic state of stress because of really poor boundaries, poor communication, way too many things as high achievers on the list, and a brain that's always going. And so one of the biggest things that came up for me in my own burnout was this disconnect of being on all the time and even working in the evening, and then expecting my body to be able to shift into a parasympathetic rest and digest at bedtime. Your body needs time. And I'm going to argue a couple of things about this. I'm going to argue not only does it need time in the evening to actually physically unwind, where, it is away from blue light, it's calm, it's not stressful content that you're consuming, all of these pieces, but healing takes time. Healing from burnout takes time. The reason why accountability and community is instrumental in all of my programs is because we need to honor the amount of time it's going to take. We need to honor all of the perceived failures on the way to success, because you are going to be tested. You don't figure this out or crack a code and never get into the same problem. I've been at this now for 5 years, trying to untether from a level of stress that was not normal, that resulted in me going profoundly deaf in 1 year, that subsequently I broke bones in my body 6 months apart because I just kept pushing through. It was utter madness. I do feel I'm on the other side of it, thankfully. And I screw up all the time. This takes time. To untether from how you've always done things is going to mean that you get it wrong a lot before you get it right. The only actual failure is quitting. I've been saying this on repeat because I know people need to hear this. I didn't discover this and was that's it. I'm amazing at boundaries. I never overcommit myself. I'm just not that person. No, there's now signals that I get from my body, the whispers, as we say. On a Friday, if I have pushed my nervous system too far, if I've pushed my capacity too far, I can tell. I describe it as like a body buzz, but I feel like I'm very sensitive to the lights in my office. I feel like my whole body is reverberating. I feel like I'm vibrating, like I'm too jacked up on cortisol. And it's happened a couple of times in the last year and a half where I'm like, whoa, what did I do that put me beyond my capacity? And what can I do different next week to make sure that that doesn't happen? I fail my way forward. It's rare that it happens now, thankfully, because I take myself very seriously. I take my health very seriously. I take the whispers more seriously. When I didn't take the whispers seriously, I ended up deaf and broken boned, right? It's actually not funny at all, but we can laugh about it now. Everything's funny after 5 years, in most cases. Anyways, when you don't feel rested when you wake up, when your body's perceivably had sleep, then there's something going on. Your body is trying to get your attention. And what I think I try and teach in Wild Collective over and over and over again is that your body is responding because it loves you. Its job is to keep you safe. And so when we push beyond and it feels like our body's no longer making sense, like we're putting on central adiposity or like belly fat, or we get anxiety and we feel like our body is working against us, it's trying to signal like how you're living is incongruent to how you were designed to thrive. So would you please stop? These are the signals, And so this is not about making yourself bad and wrong. We are all in North America and probably around the world in a society that celebrates overachieving and never being disconnected. And so if we're participating in that game, it's not surprising that your body's like, can you not? Because this is completely unnatural. And so for many of us, it's taken a burnout or few to get us calibrated to what feels like truth and harmony and peace for us. One of my favorite quotes by Cory Muscara is, you cannot self-care your way out of a life that is out of alignment. You can't keep cold plunging or taking supplements or whatever it is to biohack your way out of a life you are not happy in. That is the truth. We need to get back to the fundamentals, and everything in every piece of work that I do, it's all about fundamentals. There's hardly any supplements anymore. And I like biohacks. I have a red light. I have a sad light. I have a sauna. I have a cold plunge. I'm not dogging that, but there are fundamentals that need to be at the forefront of healing, like not doing what you don't want to do and being in relationships that fill your cup and not deplete them, and say no when you mean no. Those things are fundamentally important. And if you grew up in a home that there was a lot of self-betrayal mirrored to you, this is going to be hard. It's going to feel like a flex. It's going to feel wrong because it's going against what you were shown. It goes against what your caregivers praised you for, right? So, or society praised you for. So we're asking all these high achieving humans to stop participating in what felt like success for majority of their life. And that's going to feel hard and wrong at times. So if you're waking up tired, that's an invitation. If you're numbing out, so many people I work with are numbed out. We're scrolling, snacking, zoning out. We're doing anything to distract ourselves. And what's really important to understand is that avoidance isn't weakness. It's a coping strategy. It was at some point a survival tactic that kept you safe, but it's no longer serving you. And it might be an invitation to let yourself feel. And for many of us, feeling our feelings was not convenient for our caregivers. Therefore, we just shut it down. We numbed out because that meant we received love from our caregivers. We had our needs met. It's an invitation that your body is trying to elicit to you to more life. You can't handle your usual stress tolerance. This is a big one for me. That's what I'm talking about. Like if I overfill my bucket in a certain week, I am very aware. I'm very light sensitive. I get headaches. My body feels like it's vibrating. It's just beautiful feedback. Like, oopsies. There she goes again. I am notoriously good. I can white knuckle my way through anything. I just no longer want to, because it will really cause me a lot of physical and emotional and mental pain. I'm tired of doing that. It's not a tactic or strategy I want to implement anymore. Therefore, when I get the whispers, I respond. I look at my week and I say, wow, I took on an extra coaching call. I took on an extra wild circle. I put an extra launch in and had to show up live and answer questions. And yep, that took a lot out of me. Okay. Great feedback. Won't do that again. Or to my best of my ability, I'll do my best to avoid that happening. I am imperfect. We all are. And we can fail our way forward. Oops. Great information. Moving on. But if you have shamed yourself your whole life, it's going to be hard to not punish yourself, right? When you get it wrong, because you didn't get the gold star. So this is an invitation to start seeing this all very differently. You resent your responsibilities. That is a sign that you're just way too overstretched, right? Chronically overgiving without any replenishment leads to depletion. And when we are depleted, we start to resent the things that we always wanted to do. And it's just information. I say things on repeat because it really needs to get in through our thick heads. We need to be better. The invitation is to be better at legitimizing things for yourself and then just saying, that's interesting. That's good information. We love to make a story. We love to add emotion. We certainly love to judge and criticize ourselves. And there is literally no benefit. I feel resentment. I feel depleted. That's important information. What could I do different? That's an effective, but we like to get caught up in the drama of it all and the storytelling of it all and just live in this victim consciousness of like, poor me. And I don't think most people don't really want that, but it's what ends up happening. We feel like personally victimized by our lives. And that's why radical responsibility is such a big thing for me in the healthcare space. You have to take responsibility. You are solely responsible for your results. And I'm like, if you have spiritual perspective on this. I'm not speaking to that. Like, you obviously, if there's a higher power where you are leaning on, like, I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to wanting to blame others or situations or circumstances and feeling personally victimized by them. This happened because this person was late, or this, like, no, there's literally no benefit to you for tolerating that for yourself. Always take personal responsibility for everything. For everything. I said that. I hope you heard that right. It wasn't a mistake. You can't remember the last time you felt joy or desire. I'm going to say this is a really frequent thing I see in my office and I see in wild circles. It's just like the joy is gone. The desire for pleasure or fulfillment is just gone. Just way too overstretched, really poor boundaries, doing way too much. And there's just no time to care for yourself or to untether from it all to even find the beauty in the everyday. One of my biggest signs that I was actually healing and recovering from my burnout is that I actually started to have a real reverence for the beauty that already was in my life. It became really easy to see that. And that was a wonderful thing because your circumstances, like in most cases, can't change overnight, right? Like if you're struggling in motherhood of young kids, you can't change that. If you're, in a job that is at the time your whole family is reliant on that revenue or that income, you can't change that. But we can change how we show up to things. And when I was able to start waking up in my bed and be like, oh my gosh, I am just so grateful. I have healthy kids. I have a comfortable bed. I feel safe. I know where my next meal is coming from. I get to do work that really sustains me. Nothing in my life changed. I just perceived it differently. That is the miracle. And when that can happen for you because you are actually setting better boundaries and letting yourself rest and nourishing and nurturing yourself, when that becomes more possible, it's this beautiful place because you can actually start to tap into and it's a genuine expression and sensation of joy and desire back in your life. And I know how important connection is for that. And most of us are connection bankrupt. And that just got accelerated with a global pandemic, right? It may have gotten backburnered. The thing I feel sorry or sad for this next generation is, this false sense of social connection with social media. A friend was telling me that her daughter went to a party and asked to leave early. She was like, that's really weird. Parties were like the highlight of my life. Why would she want to go home? And she said everyone was there and they were all on their phones, not talking to each other. And it's so sad. Like I feel for this next generation. It's going to be really hard. We just went through a very similar situation with our daughter where she got to go on this really fun field trip and didn't have to do school for 3 days. She was a part of this really, really cool experience. And she was like, everyone was allowed to have their phone out. So no one hung out and talked. They got pizza for these kids. Like it would have been so fun. But for whatever reasons, those kids were allowed to have their phones and they just zone out. Now you could say, well, that's probably convenient for the teacher because then they're quiet. But like they're missing out on vital memories. And then for someone like myself where we haven't given our kids phones, it's tragic because she's now missing out on all of that because the world is not like us. The world has decided on doing these things very, very early. And that's not what this episode is about, but it just breaks my heart because there's this faulty sense of social connection when we're bankrupt in actually connecting. Anyways. Okay, so you're not broken, you're disconnected. What are we going to do? Okay. Well, let's highlight the problem. Then we're going to talk about what we're going to do. So you're disconnected from yourself, your needs, your cycles, rest, pleasure, purpose. And if you want to write those down and do an inventory, that would be super helpful. Like, am I disconnected from myself? How? Am I disconnected from my actual needs, from my cycles, from rest? Am I pushing? Am I pleasure bankrupt? Am I disconnected from my pleasure? And am I disconnected from my purpose? Because these are vital in terms of feeling fulfillment in the everyday. We're all about the beautiful life in Wild Collective, and it's tapping into these aspects or connecting with these aspects to start to see the beauty of the everyday of our life. Burnout is often a sign that you've been overriding your body's wisdom. It's not your fault. It is truly cultural conditioning. We live in a society that celebrates the lack of boundaries, the lack of rest. And so it's hard. You feel like you're going against the grain. And I would say a lot of women in Wild Collective will echo that. They feel like a unicorn because the world doesn't get why they're doing things a certain way because they no longer tolerate the way things are done in society as a measure of success for them. Are you feeling burnt out and exhausted? See you in someone who has recovered from a few burnouts herself. And through sitting in circles with women over the last 8 years, I have some perspectives as to what personality traits and habits and thinking traps perpetuate and put us at higher risk of developing and ending up in burnout. So if you want to find out your burnout archetype quiz, are you a CEO? Are you a saboteur, a martyr, a rescuer, a zombie? Then head over to the show notes, click the free quiz, and find out what might be getting in your way. Also, learn strategies and things to consider to help you reclaim your energy and recover from burnout so that you can be blissed out in the world and doing things that make you happy. Enjoy. These last few years have been really hard for me, and with no shortage of challenge. And I've never experienced more pleasure, more purpose, more of a capacity and permission for rest, even boredom, deeply connected to my cycles, honoring my own needs, really feeling like I know who I am and feeling much more comfortable in my skin. It has been through the hardest moments where I've been most disconnected that have forced me to change course and plug into source, to plug into God for me, like a higher power, and just surrender and let go and realize I probably don't have all the answers for myself, and then watch my life unfold beautifully. And one of the activities that has been helpful in the past is really looking at my timeline and seeing how everything has always worked out, and to not make so much meaning out of momentary discomfort, which I love to make meaning out of because I'm human. I had a lot of things not work out the way I thought they were going to in the last few years. And they were painful lessons. The growth of Wild Collective was one of the biggest ones, thinking that I was linking arms with all these doctors and we were going to help all these women. Like instead of hundreds, it was like thousands to millions of women. And that's not how it worked out. And that was such a painful lesson. I felt all kinds of humiliation and shame and embarrassment. And I wanted to make all kinds of meaning about it. And I couldn't even talk about it for a really long time. And now I just find this level of, it's not that I'm like free of stress of it, because I always think about like, how are we going to reach more women? Because I still have this crazy burning desire to get Wild Collective in the hands of every woman who wants this kind of connection and curriculum and support and transformation, because it really is so powerful. But there is this piece of like, if it's meant to be, it will happen and it will unfold the way it's supposed to unfold. And, that pain was so chiseling for me and refining, and just a real trust and surrender to what is. And if it's meant to be, it will be. And I still sit in wild circles every week. And I'm like, this is the greatest job on the planet. I love this work. I love working with these kind of women, and I'll keep going. I think that is why this is so important, because there are probably certain things that you would look at my life now and you would say, that's against the norm, right? Like I'm doing things different. I'm doing things in a communal fashion. I'm doing things in a slower fashion. I'm not feeling this need to force or speed or scale or whatever. I just am like letting go and trusting and letting myself relax and be bored and really just enjoy what makes me happy. And sitting in Wild Collective circles makes me deeply happy and deeply satisfied with the work that I get to do. And it might go against what people would say is, I don't know, I'm not even sure, fast enough for people. I think we live in a society that really wants quick fixes. So yeah, let's say that. Like I just will not touch it. I am not participating in like a fast fix thing, a quick solution, a quick pill to, biohack. Like I'm sitting in circles, and the healing is beautiful, and it's a lot faster than you think, but it's not like you don't take a pill and get an immediate ROI. It's like, I don't know, it's deliciously slow. And maybe, I would say there'd probably be a lot of business coaches that would be like, well, what is this? Like, I don't know. It's just amazing. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's counterculture and it's really effective. And it helped me get from disconnected to very connected to my own self and needs and rest and pleasure and purpose and cyclical wisdom. And I just think, it doesn't have to be that for you, but like we all have these moments where things are not easy, and you can use that friction point to propel you forward, or you can use it to make meaning about how things were never meant to work for you. And either way, you're right. But I'm going to invite that you just tune in and feel what is coherent. And I am grateful because if people knew that it took this many years to heal from burnout, it would probably intimidate them a little bit because, right, we get sold this like flashy social media thing. And now there's such a thing called a cortisol coach. Like, what is that? Come on. Like silliness. It takes time and it takes honesty of like where you're at, legitimizing where you're at, and then setting the healthy boundaries. And honestly, it takes time. And I can tell you, as someone who is a high achieving, over functioning, white knuckling human, I'm grateful for the challenges I've had the last few years because it forced me to have to learn things the hard way. And I come out the other side much more comfortable and much more like a way greater capacity to be in the moment, to be in my joy, to see the beauty of it all and not get hooked. And I think that's like outrageously cool. What is possible? I kind of articulated this, but what is possible when we reconnect? One of the fundamentals of Wild Collective is body literacy, helping you learn to hear and trust your body's cues. I want you to be able to be so tuned in to how your body is speaking to you so that you're not confused or mystified. I think what felt like betrayal by my body is when I weighed 30 pounds more than I do now. And I was like, what the hell happened? How did this happen? I felt so betrayed. And the truth was that I wasn't very good at listening to the cues. I was the woman that I talk about. It feels like you're just like reverberating on top of your body. Like you're just doing and you're producing without any way of your body would. I think if you were in your body, you would feel like your body's screaming no. So that's how we disconnect. So we want to reattach those pieces where there is this beautiful connection between your body, your head, and your heart, where, you are directly plugged in. And when you do too much, you pull back, like you respond to the cues. But sometimes, because a lot of the way our body speaks to us is through discomfort or pain, we disconnect. And so when we start to reconnect, we start to create this beautiful new vocabulary and literacy with our body, this permission for bio-individuality. We're all unique. And the more you get comfortable with yourself, who you are, what works for you and what doesn't, the less likely you are to be persuaded by the latest and greatest trend. The reason we called Poppy Clinic was because of the book Women Who Run with Wolves was talking about this idea of being able to separate poppy seed from soil. Some of us high achieving, overachieving humans are always looking for the next dangling carrot, the next golden, shiny thing. And when we have a real reverence for what is truth for us, what works for us and what doesn't, we're not likely to be persuaded or influenced by people or social media or TikTok or whatever crazy things are going on or being said. It's like you're building out your own health plan. You're working out because what works for your body. You're choosing foods because they work for you. You're not, feeling all charged up because you identify as a vegan or a carnivore or whatever. It's like, no, this is what I found works best for me. And that's through a ton of trial and error. It's through this capacity and willingness to know myself best and then do what's best for me. And I think I love watching women stand in that. That to me is like, oh, we just nailed it. Like that, like job done. I'm so excited about that. When women are like, yeah, I'm glad that works for you. It won't work for me, or I've already figured out what works for me, or not being influenced by whatever latest and greatest trend, because it is so easy to get like ping ponged around with like, oh, now we're this and now we're this and now we're this, like now we're taking this and now oats are bad, and like it's crazy out there. And I really want women to be tuned in and trust themselves to navigate the world. If they've got the literacy with their body, then they're getting this beautiful communication where it's like, this works for me and this doesn't. And I know because I'm dialed in with me, not the world, not social media. Belonging. Healing happens in circle, not solo. I'll tell you, hands down, one of the most powerful tools a woman can leverage is safe sisterhood, is to be tuned in and dialed into belongingness. When I discovered that, I really felt like an unstoppable force. And I really mean that. And that has propelled, I think, the need to keep wanting Wild Collective to reach the hands of millions, because I know the power of what is possible when a woman feels like she belongs and she's safe and she's heard and she's validated in her experience, and she can bump and grind along the way, all the way to really falling in love with herself and falling in love with her life and truly being a force. And we know the ripple effect of that. She heals communities. So it's just so cool. The beauty of a soft life. This has been my hardest lesson because I didn't want it to be true for me. I like white knuckling. I like being in charge. I want to control. I want to be fast. I am by nature a very fast and bubbly human. And to have to learn to honor slowness and peace and trust my sovereignty and be tapped into my own pleasure was such a healing piece for me. The reclamation of the feminine essence for me was vital. In the polarities, like, you are an expression of both at any given time, right? We have the masculine and feminine within ourselves and within our partnerships and relationships. My masculine was very flexed. I can produce and do and grow and scale. I needed to soften and surrender and rest and find this like beautiful trust that everything was unfolding, and to let go and let God, for me, just like let things unfold as they should. And trust that everything is happening for my highest and best good, for my evolution, for my learning. We are not promised to live a life of free from pain. We are promised to be chiseled into the best versions of ourselves and to fall in love with the process of it if we're willing to be bold and brave. And that brings me back to the belongingness piece, because when you belong, when you have a community of people who have your back and will help hold you in the hard, everything starts to work out beautifully. I just want to put it out there that you are not broken. You don't need another Band-Aid solution. You need a sacred return to yourself. If you are looking for a community to get plugged into, please go check out the resources in the show notes. Wild Collective would be honored to facilitate and support that for you. We have tons of resources. There's a Burnout Archetype quiz you could go check out. You could find out what kind of archetype your burnout expresses as. And then there are tools and tips and tricks that you can start to leverage today to reclaim your health and vibrancy. And we would love to have you join us in a Wild Circle. So make sure you get on the wait list. We for sure will be opening the doors in September. And, it's possible that demand has started coming in. I could possibly be convinced to do a spring launch as well. So if you're interested, don't be a stranger. Reach out to me on Instagram at Dr. Michelle Peris. And if there's enough of you, we'll make it happen. So until next week, stay wild. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wild Medicine. I am so grateful to have you here, and I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It helps us reach more incredible women just like you. And before you go, quick reminder, the information shared on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition. Please consult with your healthcare provider for personalized advice and care. And if you're ready to take inspired action and dive deeper into your own health journey, please visit us at poppyclinic.com. Let's rewild and reset your health together.